Wynbrook Pride, Arts and Entertainment, take one.
Greetings. My name is Damon Jones. I'm the guest host for Wynbrook Pride. Today we're going to keep people before politics and real talk for the community. My guest today is Sonja Brown. She's a former council person for Greenburgh. She's on the Greenburgh School Board trustee, and she's the vice president of the White Plains Greenburgh NAACP. And we're here tonight to discuss the importance of people voting and being responsible for their vote and being informative on their vote. Welcome, Sonja.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. You've been very active in the community talking about the importance of the vote. Why is that?
Well, the importance of the vote is very important because, one, our ancestors and people before us fought very hard for us just to have the right to vote.
That's
I mean,
right.
just think of everything that they've gone through, from the water hose to the dogs to just getting beat down to stop them from going to, for registering to vote and
That's
to
right.
vote. Today, all we have to do is just roll out of the bed and
That's right.
hit the voting booth and just push the lever, and we voted for the right, hopefully the right candidate. So it's important to keep that going, and it's important to pass the baton to our young people
Right.
and let them understand why it's important to vote as well.
That's great. Now, do you feel that young people in today's society really understand the history that's behind voting and really understand the need to exercise their right to vote?
Well, I think that there could definitely be a greater understanding. It's not, in my opinion, as important as it was for, let's say, my father at the time in the 50s and the 60s.
Right.
But it's something that we need to bring back to our children. We need to get it back into our schools. We need to educate our children about the why it's important to vote and how to vote, and how to look at different candidates to decide on who to vote for. And then we also have to make sure that we create an environment in our home for our children as well.
That's right.
And in our community. It takes home, community, in our schools, and our faith-based groups to really come together and tell our children and teach them why it's important to vote.
That's great. That's great. Now, with the upcoming election, there has been a lot of things going on throughout the nation in different what they call swing states, states that our current president Barack Obama has won that was usually Republican states, and now they're trying to pass laws they claim to suppress voter fraud, but there have been argument throughout the nation about that these laws are suppressing minorities and poor people. What do you feel about that?
I think it's horrible, but what I think is important for all of us is that whatever state we live in, we must understand our laws, and we must do any and everything in our power to fight against whatever the trickery that's going
right.
on, because this election year, all of the tricks will come out of the bags.
That's right.
And people have to understand and know their rights, and if they don't, then they could be turned away from voting. For example, you will have some at some voting sites where people will be turned around away from voting because they may not have or see their name on the piece of paper to vote.
Right.
However, you are still supposed to allow that person to vote. It may be a paper ballot or a different method, but that person is supposed to be allowed to vote, and then the Board of Elections will work that out that evening or that next day as
Okay.
far as counting that person's vote. But people will try to turn you away. There will be a lot of tricks that are coming out. If you are a felon, they will tell you that or if you, excuse me, if you're incarcerated, they will tell you that you cannot vote. However, if you have not been charged of a crime and you're still just sitting in jail,
Right.
you are still allowed to vote, and every jail is supposed to, every corrections facility is supposed to have an absentee ballot and a voter registration form, and they're supposed to offer to those people who are incarcerated.
Now that you mentioned that, I'm in law enforcement, correction officer for past 23 years in Valhalla. I've never seen them offer that to the prisoners, those who just are up there on misdemeanor violations. I think that is something further down the road that needs to be addressed, and we need to hold our elected officials accountable
Yes.
to make sure that everybody has the right to vote. Now, you are a former council person.
Yes.
You have been in the political arena. What have you saw from the outside that you could educate young people about the whole political system?
Right. Well, it was certainly my 4 years an educational experience for me as well, because there was just this whole political world that was going on before I even knew about it, before I took leadership. And that made me sad. It made me sad because I'm also a district leader for the town of Greenburgh, which means that, you know, myself as well as the other district leaders, we vote to nominate the best, who we feel is the best candidate, and we put all of our energy, financial support, physical support into promoting this person.
Right.
However, if you don't know about that, if you don't know about that process before the big general election, then you can easily get lost and not know who to vote for or why you're voting for that person. What I'm noticing just as a district leader is that, you know, I'm not ashamed to tell my age. I'm 45 years old, and I'm probably the youngest of the bunch of the district leaders in the Greenburgh area. And this is where we need to educate our children, again, with home, school, community, and our faith-based groups, to let our children know before it's time for them to vote, the entire process. Not that you just wake up November 6th and vote, but there's a whole series of things that must be done before the general election.
Right. Okay, let's delve into that process a little bit. Now, you say that the district leaders, they vote for somebody that will represent the Democratic Party.
Right.
So, in essence, that person is selected before he is elected.
Yes.
So now, what I'm saying is the people do not really know that there were other candidates or other people that were vying for that position before that they were voted for by a small few to be voted for by the general population.
Right.
So now, are we saying that small few represents the thoughts and the wishes of the general population?
The way that it stands and the way that the system is set up, absolutely yes. That small few kind of thinks and will decide for the general population. And that's why it's so important for all of us to be involved, for all of us to know what's going on. Like I said, I'm the youngest, one of the youngest out of the many Greenburgh district leaders. And, right now we do need others to come on board. But again, it's us getting the education out to say, do you know who your district leader is in your community? Do you know what a district leader is? What is their role? What is their responsibility? So it's all about education. And that's something that I've been trying to do, but we need many more to help pass that baton, to pass the information on, especially to our young people, because we're not going to be here forever.
And that's right. Now, the role of the district leader, do they communicate with their district? I live in Mount Vernon. I haven't seen my district leader yet, but they get elected.
Right.
So if the district leader is not communicating with the actual district, are they representing the district?
Right. And that's what happens. I've asked the questions for close to 4 years. What is our role? What is our responsibility? What should we be doing? And what I hear is the response back is, oh, I don't know. We just vote for the candidate that we think is just best. But it should not be that way. And you're
That's right.
absolutely right.
That's right.
People, district leaders should be visible in their communities. District leaders should be asking the questions or hearing some of the challenges within that community so that they can bring it back to the rest of the district leaders at the convention, like we have a meeting tonight, to say, you know, here's how we in our community, here's what we believe, here's what we think, instead of just I.
That's
so
right.
sometimes that definitely becomes a problem.
That's right. Now, I'm going to take what we're talking about, bringing young people from a local scale to a national scale. Now, as you see, the Republican Party, they're getting younger. You know, they're getting younger, but if you look at the Democratic Party, they're getting older. Now, when we talk about passing the baton, you know, are we actually passing the baton on to young people? Because there's an old saying, old men for counsel, young men for war. And when you have a vibrant opposition like the Republican Party today, and they're getting younger and younger,
Right.
What is going on with the Democratic Party?
Well, I can speak for my experience.
Yes.
You know, no one passed me the baton. I had to take it. I had to understand this whole new political world and what it was about, because I knew I wanted to do more for my community.
That's right.
The people who did pass the baton on to me definitely was my parents, my mother and my father. However, it was more than that. It was, like I said, a whole nother world that I've never seen, or most of us have never seen in our life, regarding the Democratic Party. And so I had to learn for myself, and then I had to get myself in there, and I had to say, you know, I am going to run for office, even though some of, you know, the older Democrats who've been at this game for a long time said to me, it's just not your time yet. Well, when is my time?
That's right.
And who is going to
That's
dictate
right.
to me my time?
That's
And
right.
it was my time. And so, you know, sometimes, you know, the baton may not be passed for whatever reason. And I would say to our young people and our young adults, our younger generation, sometimes you have to take the baton and you have to run so far with it to do what's right for your community.
Right, and they say power only concedes to power.
That's right.
And to sometimes to wait around, we will miss our time.
That's right.
Now, locally here in Westchester, there have been discussions of maybe a third or another party within the Democratic Party, because the Democrats have not been vocal on issues locally here in Westchester of the poor, of children, police brutality, different issues, education. They have not been vocal and out in the front of issues that the community needs, especially minority communities, the Latin and the African American communities. What is your take on that?
Well, again, through my experience as the former councilwoman in Greenburgh, there's only certain things or issues that you can do alone. You definitely need the people behind you. You need people to come out and to support your issues. There is power in numbers, as you know, sad as that sounds, that, oh, you know, I'm not only, my issue will be heard if there's like 100 or 1,000 people. If there are 2 or 3 people, sometimes, you know, those who are elected will kind of push you down and push the issue to the side, or, you know, give you a little a piece of candy and then you go away. But, you know, you have to have people behind. You have to, if the community is in trouble, if they're in need of some type of anything, then they have to be behind you or beside you to fight the issue. Now, there's some Democrats, however, who are elected and may not be willing to do the right thing for the community. And then again, we the people elect them.
That's right.
So we the people have to work hard to vote them out of office. So it comes back to the masses. You know, it comes back to the community. That we have to really take a stand and make sure, whether Republican or Democrat, that they are there for the people, by the people, and we elect them.
Right.
We elect them, and we can again make sure that they don't get back
And
in
you
office.
and you're right on point. But here's the catch-22.
Okay.
How can we elect anybody else if the Democratic leaders are nominating the same person.
Right.
You know, even if that term they haven't really did anything, but the leaders nominate that same person for that position again.
Right. One thing about the supervisor of the town of Greenburgh, Paul Feiner, we have our disagreements, but one thing that I can agree with him is that he campaigns very well. He has never been nominated by the Democratic Party, and he's still in office for close to 20 years
It's
now.
been around.
And it goes back to, you know, there was a time where he was really out there in the community, and he didn't care about the political bosses.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so you know, it just depends on the type of person that you are. Are you willing to stand sometimes alone, because sometimes it becomes a lonely process, and you know that by fighting a lot of issues here in Westchester. But you know, you have to be motivated to just, you know, whatever the Democratic Party's nomination is, you can basically say to them, you know, I respect your vote, I respect your decision, but I'm going to run anyway.
Right.
And they may or may not like that, but like I said, there have been people who have won their election without the nomination.
Now, what do you feel like? Information is key, and in the African American community, we have many churches, and recently President Obama took the stand about gay marriage. Not speaking from a biblical standpoint or religious standpoint, but speaking on just a civil rights standpoint, that people, whatever their sexual orientation,
Right.
have the right to marry civilly, right? And there have been talk among African American preachers, among other preachers, that they will boycott this election and not vote for Barack Obama.
Right.
Because he took that stand. What do you feel about that, as far as the whole voting issue?
Well, I'm really sad about it. One being, and a little angry as well. One being that, you know, who are we to judge anybody? You know, there's only one person
That's
that
right.
can judge us, and judging is sin. The other thing is that, you know, we are separating, as the NAACP, we also stand behind President Obama and his decision. But, you know, we're looking at it not that it's just two couples together and whatever they do. We're looking at it more of their civil rights. Have their civil rights been violated? How can we help them so that it's not violated? And that's the bigger picture.
Right.
And we as African Americans, we should, you know, kind of understand that, you know, for those African Americans who are totally against it, that there were some people against, groups of people against us, while our civil rights were being violated too. So, you know, we have to stand together. Anytime anyone's civil rights have been violated, or we have a chance to do something about it, then we should.
And you're right. I agree with the president. You know, when it comes to politics, you should pull religion. You should pull religion. I've seen many times that religion has even separated people on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat,
Right.
and even independent. You know, and that's not the issue here. The issue is the issue is policy. The issue is how do we move our country forward as a people, and how do we work for all people.
Right. Right.
Now, to say that, you know, in the news, Mitt Romney made a blanket statement about the 47%
Right.
of the country, you know, being feeling that they're victims. What do you feel about that?
I think that he is helping us a lot by winning this election. I think that he just, for whatever reason, every time he opens his mouth, something silly comes out, or something that's just hard to swallow. I made mention to you before that there's no such thing today with all the technology that we're behind closed doors, or we
Right,
discuss
that's right.
this behind closed doors.
That's
So what showed me just with that, with just his statement, that he felt so comfortable making that statement, showed me that, you know, I know for sure he definitely cannot lead this country, because there may be some other information that he may have to be hush about, or may have to be careful about how he says or what he does, and how it is perceived. Because something like that, I can see him something later on, if he was to become president, which I definitely know that will not happen. But if he became president, that he could easily say the wrong thing to offend a different country that will put us all in danger. Right. So
he already had.
He already had. So one of the important things that he would need to learn is to think before you speak or before you react. That's right. So that scares me about him.
That's right. That's right. Now, do you think that this race, this presidential race, is actually about race?
For some people, it is about race, and some people will do any and everything that they can to discredit our president, who has handled every situation that has come his way gracefully. And so I am proud not only to be an African American woman and to see an African American man in place, but I'm proud to see his whole demeanor on things, his knowledge. I mean, I've watched him on TV with just a room full of Republicans, and just himself, without a script, without a piece of paper, and they were throwing questions at him. And I was like, this black man is just such a smart man.
That's right.
And so race has a lot to do with it. No one thought in a million years that we would have a person of color to serve as our leader for this country. And what hurts is that people, again, will try to hurt him, will try to hurt his family, and just because of his color.
That's right. And I think a lot of black people have a misconception that we have a black president, that he's supposed to pass black legislation or bills strictly for black people. So my whole I see it different. I don't agree with him with everything he does. But you have to understand the position and where he's at. He's not the president of Greenburgh. He's not the president of Mount Vernon, or he's not the president of the South Side of Yonkers.
Right.
He's the president of America. What do you have to say to those African Americans that feel that he hasn't done enough, or he hasn't specifically did things for black people?
Well, first of all, he's been in office for about 4 years now, and people think black, white, different nationalities. They basically feel that he should have turned something around within the 4 years that he served as our president.
Right.
That's something that's basically impossible. It was impossible for him to kind of undo years and years and years of just, I'll say, mess up.
Right.
That this country has endured. So just on a general level, give him time, give him another year, another term. He's already started to turn things around. Now, as far as our African American people, our black people, it saddens me that they feel that he should fight more just for African Americans. Absolutely, he should fight for everyone. He is the president of the United States, and we have to support him. We have to support our president.
That's right.
And to say those things and to react, in a way to those things only turns the focus of the things that he should be focusing on, which is all of us.
Right.
It takes pretty much a back stance for him, because now he has to use more energy to kind of blow out the fires, to fight, just every little thing. And he should. He should be able to make sure that we're all okay. But although he's a person of color, he should not just focus on African Americans. If we have a white president, are we going to ask him only to, focus on white issues? If we have a Hispanic president, should we ask him to only, really focus on Hispanic issues? No, they are serving the country. They've been elected by all of us who voted for them and supported them, and they should support the issues that we're all facing.
Thank you. As we close out, is anything that you want to say or any information you want to give to the people
Right.
that's watching?
Right. Well, the important thing is that October 17th is the last day that you can register to vote. You can mail in your registration application by October 12th. If you do not register to vote by that time, you will not be able to vote in the November 6th election 2012. So please, I encourage you all, if you need voter registration forms, you can go to your Board of Elections in your community. You can give me a call at 914-437-7251. I will take as many voter registration forms to you as well. And also, if you're unable to leave your home or you're out of state or what have you, you're in a nursing home, you can still vote. And with that, you need to apply for an absentee ballot. So we're asking all to come out to register to vote. Now, there's a high number of people who register to vote. However, the number is way low for those who are registered to vote and who actually vote.
Okay.
So even after you register to vote, come out and vote on November 6th. There's going to be a need for transportation assistance. Certainly call the same number, 914-437-7251, if you'd like to volunteer on that day, and we'll work it out together.
Sonja, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching. And I hope everybody have a blessed day. Wynbrook Pride, where we keep people before politics. Real talk for the community. Good night.